And welcome to the Royal Rumble review. We are the Dudley Boys of WhatCulture. I'm Adam Wilbourn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened at the Royal Rumble. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts, where we review Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week complete with a very good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, they're joined by Hamflett and Sidgwick to review the Royal Rumble. What a night it was, and I just want to give a quick shout-out to Daniel Rogers as we are live on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who's joining us. Thank you for your donations and your questions. I will get to them in due course. Daniel Rogers writes, I left for the school run 45 minutes early to have a can of White Foster and watch the boys. Let's go.
Hey,
yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Let's paint a picture of an afternoon I won alongside
Yes.
this one as well. This was like so different to every other Triple H Royal Rumble we've discussed
Yes.
thus far. In that even when it wasn't good, and there were large portions of the women's one and other portions of the show, it felt eventful. It was the sort of show that I was looking forward to doing this podcast on and engaging with the stuff online, watching live. You could tell there was just loads of talking points. And then there were points where it was actually good. And that's the stuff I like. I look forward to praising and analysing and fantasy booking off the back of. Like, easily the best of his creative run.
Yes.
But, you know, the bar was all the way like down there. So that was
soon
never
as
Down where?
down there, but like really far down there.
Me and Phil were doing the stream, and as soon as they started telling any sort of story other than the who's going to win the match story, I was like, well, best Rumble he's ever put on this, isn't it?
Well, yeah. But I just ultimately, I think in terms of like as well, like how a Rumble should look, and I've got this belief now after the women's one, you never get any Royal Rumbles back. Like, stop watching and expecting good Rumbles because they're just never going to happen. However, if next year we've got as many stories as we had going into it this year, I'll have optimism that the matches themselves could be good. The Pat Patterson Rumble is never coming back. They cannot book, or won't, but they can't do it. I just don't believe that they can book Royal Rumbles the old way, and the expectations need to disappear. However, if this main event one in particular is an example of how they want to do it going forward, we might be all right.
I'm with Hamflett. I was really looking forward to doing this podcast because I'm struggling as I sit here to think of a single word that doesn't apply to this PLE from beginning to end at one point or another. Bold, shocking, boring, electrifying, eventful, inscrutable, divisive. Like, I had a great experience watching this if it wasn't necessarily an outright amazing, amazing wrestling show. Lots to get into, lots to talk about. Stuff that, if you follow us or have for a long time, you might be surprised for me to start defending.
Let's start.
Some indefensible work, John Cena, as well.
Let's start with the Women's Royal Rumble match, though.
Actually, no. What we're going to start with is something that pissed me off from the jump, and this will sound like a lie. Sidgwick, excited about a WWE show? Bollocks. I went to bed on the Saturday, genuinely, like I could sleep, but I was thinking, you know what? I've got no idea who's winning the Men's Rumble. This is going to look like WrestleMania, and it did. It looked incredible if we don't get the chance to touch upon that. And I was genuinely like, I'm getting worked by the Rumble all over again. Even if the match isn't great, there's going to be a point when someone enters it and I'm thinking, you're going to win. How are you not? How is Roman Reigns going to lose it? Yeah. You know, I was really excited. And then Stephanie has to come out and say nothing just to get a pop. I hate them.
I forgot about that, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
I was 14, 15 years old with the McMahon Helmsley era, thinking, oh, this is really boring, actually. Bring back 1998. This sucks. And I'm still living in it.
Yeah, got nothing from that. Totally agree.
We and Phil were barely paying attention at this point on the live stream.
It's like, oh, God, why? What are you doing?
Because she got her own version of the Triple H camera panning all the way around thing. Just whenever possible, I just looked at those like stunning windows in that amazing venue.
Lucas Oil, wasn't it? Yeah.
Just enjoyed looking at the venue while she was...
It wasn't even a set.
No, didn't need one, did you?
Didn't need one.
Stunning venue to look at. Like what? Like
Well, that's just how many tickets were sold.
yeah,
Between 65 and 70,000, depending on who you listen to, basically.
and it looked it. Yeah, like
As Hamflett very, very astutely pointed out, with your own old brain for work numbers, they could have or would have, however many years ago, went, there's 80,000 people in here.
Yep.
And he would have just believed it or went, it's close enough, you can imagine it.
It's topping most of the old manias, like most of the old stadium manias shoot numbers. That topped it.
But we'll start with the Women's Royal Rumble match. I mean, the headline news, I'm not going to go kind of blow for blow for this. We'll mention the fact that we got a lot of NXT talent in there, which I very much enjoyed. But the headline is, of course, Charlotte Flair winning, which I don't know, it shouldn't have come as a surprise to many people, especially when you look at the rest of this field. No. There's an argument to be made that you should have done a shock win for a Jordynne Grace, for example, but it was always going to be Charlotte's to lose.
Yeah, it was, especially from the point at which they announced her as returning, because obviously anybody else, Becky Lynch is the one that springs to mind, but there'd have been others where, well, they haven't promoted them. That's just a bit of fantasy booking or a bit of speculation that you build on. Charlotte Flair was announced, was nailed on to be a favourite, was nailed on to do well, even if she wasn't going to win. So, like, I don't have too many complaints. I think the complaints were a lot of people like pressing the Charlotte Flair autopilot button for just how they remember feeling whenever Charlotte Flair would win. If anything, this feels like an interesting story. Charlotte Flair coming back and winning. Like, the person that just was there, was the most consistent, was at times the most damaging to others' trajectory in this division, but then would go on to prove herself in the big matches time after time after time after time, is gone for this extended period and is fallible. And we've never really had that from her, and certainly not in a way that she's wanted to sell. And then she comes back and she's returned from injury. It's been a long time. A year has gone by in the division, but even longer has gone by in WWE because, as we talked about, she's never really had that much to do with Triple H's creative since that was like summer 2022. And Charlotte Flair, for whatever reason, has been out of the picture for the majority of that period of time. So it felt like longer since she'd been in the ring, and it felt like a bigger thing she was coming back to. It honestly felt like it had the same sort of vibe as someone like a Trish Stratus coming out, but she's only been out the ring a year, and she's still got, say, like another 10 years of full-time physical dominance in it if she wants it. So I thought this was I think this was the right winner to book. And it just leads me on to the main point I want to make about this match before we pick it. There was a few high points and some of the interesting cameos and surprises and stuff.
Chelsea Green, as always, great in there.
There are things in this match to praise, but the overwhelming sentiment, and I think this is shared by most people watching and listening to this, they're taking the piss. And we talked in the build about how there was no build, and for weeks it was just Bayley and Nia Jax, and they were the only two announced, and then they gave Nia Jax a title shot at Rhea Ripley as if they'd forgotten she was even in it. There was that little attention paid to this match. And what annoyed me was that with every sort of NXT person that came in, or with every cameo or Nikki Bella or whoever, there was this idea that you can already hear the PR nonsense from Triple H of, the thing with the men's, it's more kind of in tune with the TV. The cool thing about the women's is it's different vibe, different needs. We get to bring back bring back some legends from the past. Give some of the NXT gals a chance in front of a big stadium crowd. You get the whole patronising tone. You can imagine in his mind, it's perfect because then they're both different rumbles. They've got their own identity. Here's the special attraction NXT call-ups nights. And then we get to the men's, and it's the guys that are in the mix. It's like, you're speaking in code, mate. These are the people you've booked. These are the people you haven't. It's a bit of an indictment of the NXT men's division that nobody's calling for any call-ups from that shower of shite on Tuesdays. There's nobody you'd really want at this point. At least there's people from NXT that you'd want to see in the Women's Rumble because that division's way better. But it was just such an indictment on the problem that they know is real, that the Rumble now, considering they don't book them, everyone comes in, does a spot, settles into a corner. Everybody comes in, does a spot, settles into a corner. Your deadwood clearers get one elimination if they're lucky. We talked about this in the Raw preview. 3 Iron Women, unacceptable. For 4 eliminations between them as well. Yep. So everybody comes in.
A literal waste of time.
Yeah. Everybody comes in, does a spot, goes to a corner. At the bare minimum, you need 30 people that are over enough and have an over enough spot so that at least their entrance and the spot they get to do gets a pop. And that's not the case because the booking's bad. So the division...
The music's also bad.
The music is terrible.
But that's not the reason that happened.
But it's a part of it because, again, if a character was over, the bad music would be forgiven because it's exciting to see this person here. Other than the actual start, which is a reminder of when her music was good, Alexa Bliss's music now is terrible. But people care about Alexa Bliss. So out she comes and she gets this massive response.
Huge pop for her, yeah.
Enormous. They're reliant on those pops. They're reliant on the few... Bianca Belair got on that ring and I was like, what? How is she not How are we not talking about her like we're talking about CM Punk or Roman Reigns? How are we not getting the whiteboard out and being like, right, what's Bianca Belair's match? What's her singles match? Night 1 and night 2, what title is she fighting for? Because the difference, the gulf between her and like over a third of the field here was embarrassing. And not to the women, to Triple H, the booker. Like, I don't expect the NXT wrestlers to get pops, but the ones that did come in, like, didn't necessarily even get the opportunity really. Like Lash Legend didn't have a particularly great night. Jada Parker, it was just like, have a go, get in there, see what the fans go for. And they're biting on now because they're not given any reason to bite on anything. And it's just this Rumble formula works with the men because there's so many overstars, overstories, and fantasy booking of who's going to get what at WrestleMania. And they've applied that to this women's one, and it just doesn't work.
What do you make of it all?
Not the Women's Rumble. A waste of time. So long and so repetitive. This really... If I could summarize it, I would just refer to it as a tedious, repetitive loop where nothing seemed to happen at any point. And because nothing happened, and the neglect was evident by the wrestlers who were still in the ring because there was no action, so the one little tiny thing that they do, and that is wrestler comes in, they do some spots, go into the background. She did that over and over again. Oh, you can have your little moment times 30 because there's so little action and so little thought and no like cool eliminations or stories told between wrestlers. Obviously, there was a few. But because there's so many women just doing nothing after, do your spots and then get out. Or don't get out, stay there, but don't do anything. When they did the spots, there was just so much clutter that nothing ever resonated. No one got over. There were highlights, obviously. Jordan Grace always looks good. Like some nice pops for the returns. It was just, oh God, just depressing. I'll tell you one thing though, one positive, is that the work, while not amazing, was drastically improved from previous editions of this match, which have been diabolical, quite frankly. It was never diabolical. It was just, it felt so long. It felt so long. And it was long, and it felt even longer, and nothing happened really of note. On Charlotte Flair, I understand why people are pissed. For me, it's been so long. And under Levesque, it's kind of uncharted territory for, can you actually craft something interesting storyline-wise on behalf of Charlotte Flair and like a sense of doubt or peril or conflict with somebody else? Because there's, Hamflett points out, there's been very limited opportunities for Levesque to book her. But she's a woman, so it's probably not going to be very, tended.
It is sort of night and day when you compare it to the men's, which we'll get into in due course, of course. But you can look at that and not just, your Joe Hendry appearances or your iShow Speed, who we'll talk about in a while, but, Jacob Fatu having some amazing spots. Bron Breakker, of course, having some incredible moments in there alongside the obvious, like Roman Punk, Seth, Cena, etc., etc. They had like glimpses of it in the women's match. So you had your Chelsea Green doing fun stuff early on, and then there's a bit where she's suddenly confronted, and then Piper's coming out to save her and what have you. And there was like moments where they had that sort of the present and the future 3-on-3 coming together, but it just felt so much of an afterthought sometimes.
Indeed, there's two more things I want to mention before we move on that I forgot in my recap there. One, the Kip Up City was just ridiculous. Do your stuff, then Kip Up, appeal to the crowd. Guy, you got a little moment. Ruffle the hair. Then, right, okay, to bump for somebody else, then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. That really pissed me off. You know what else really pissed me off? I don't like it when, and all promotions do this. WWE is the worst offender for it. We reviewed for WhatCulture Wrestling podcasts, wherever you get them, YouTube as well, a classic match. Is that out yet?
When's it dropping, Nicholas?
That will be dropping this Sunday because we didn't want to. It was supposed to be last Sunday, but then we didn't want to get lost in all this Royal Rumble excitement.
So this coming Sunday, a new series is about to drop covering classic matches. And without giving too much away, this classic match starts with each wrestler looking at the crowd, going ballistic, registering the moment that they are about to experience, that they are living in that moment. This match had so many empty, like, versions of that trope where the wrestlers are, like, staring at each other and going, look at us, who would have thought it, not me. We're coming together in this match, and isn't this an epic moment? And staring at each other as if I meant to give a toss. Like you just interacted on NXT last week, for example, and you're doing the whole, there's a lot of history between us, and aren't these fans going crazy for it? Pathetic.
Yeah. It was hollow. A lot of it,
Hollow.
so little of it rang true in this match, yeah, because there was so many points at which. So I watched this opener. My kids were desperate to stay up because they'd watched a Royal Rumble with me the night before, and the gimmick could just cast a spell on them. They don't really like wrestling, but they completely got the idea.
Mine
of it.
don't care.
And I was like, there's one on tomorrow.
Mine prefer the dub. They don't. Couldn't care less.
And it was an 11 o'clock start over here, and it was Saturday night, so kind of stars aligned sort of thing. And I was like, well, you watch the first one, then we'll watch the second one tomorrow. So my wife was watching it as well. She knows a few of the people in this match. And one of the
She
observations...
sat there as a family at like 11 p.m.
watching the goddamn Royal Rumble. Who'd have thunk it? Not me. But just a
For a family of marks.
just the opener. I love them too much to make them watch DIY Motor City Machine Guns. Quick, family, to bed quick, before it's too late. So we watched the Rumble together, and it's a perfect match for anybody that's even only got like half an eye on wrestling, because it's just, there's always somebody new. There's theoretically always something happening, even if at the ring feels like that's not the case. And my wife sort of said, is there something about why people keep targeting Bayley? And it's just like, let your husband, the analyst, pull the curtain back here. There's only so many people she trusts to actually work with. So she's going to bump for everybody. And I want to isolate her for praise. There was Bianca did it, Io did it, and there was like 3 or 4 others in the match that did all the bumping, all the selling for all the wrestler comes in, does a move. They were the actual Iron Women of this thing. I don't want to discredit Liv Morgan, because she as well was one of them who was always just there for stuff. And that was kind of what I ended up watching at points. The action, whatever stories were supposed to be into, was non-existent. So I just found myself thinking about it. It's like, oh, there's Bayley right there for this splash. Or Alexa did the pose where she would stand on her back. That's like a callback to when they were in a Fued years ago. Just a nasty piece of work to do with sort of old hugger Bayley. Io the same. And pretty much right through at the end, to the point where they almost wanted to, in the effort to give everybody a little something and make sure that it's that thing nobody gets over when you're trying to get everybody over. So that's when they do the big Nia Jax elimination, and the idea is you hide in a bunch of big hitters getting eliminated one after another because, oh God, they've all fell off the ropes because Nia Jax has hit the ropes. She's trucked them all at once. It just looked pathetic.
It just
looked so
messy, wasn't it? Yeah.
Just looked lame. And the
I
idea...
love Nia Jax, obviously. I was happy about it.
Shut up, man.
The foundation of the ice. Well, indeed, yeah. With even your biggest stars, they can take that and it's fine. It's not a pinfall. And it seemed like, we couldn't possibly commit to just eliminating these big names. We'll hire them all out in one big spot that makes them all look rubbish. We did a video where we were doing Rumble, prediction absolutely every possible thing about the Rumble. And it was Anthony Mango that wrote the article, still available at whatculture.com/WWE. So we were going through some of his suggestions, and then adding a bit of colour to those suggestions. And he pitched Liv Morgan for the Iron Woman, and his reasoning was she's basically got this record thus far. She's put in Rumbles for a long period of time. And we were saying, yeah, that's as good a reason as any. They must like her in that role. But my personal belief was, well, this is a year that she's been talking up Raquel Rodriguez. So Raquel does a load of the work, the literal diesel run, and then Liv Morgan kind of gets to benefit from it. And they completely flipped that. Raquel, her heater, arrives at number 27 or something when Liv's had 55 minutes in the ring. And that was this real moment of clarity for me of just they do not think about this anymore. They line them all up. They think of a couple of spots. They do not think about this match as it is its own story, or it should be its own story. And that self-contained Rumble story is dead. And ain't never coming back.
It ain't ever coming back.
I think I enjoyed the Women's Rumble more than the two of you, because I think there was the germ of an idea occasionally, but I do agree, obviously, there's night and day between the men's and the women's. Because I've seen some people in the chat saying, I enjoyed the whole thing. And I think then Jordan Grace, Bianca Belair just going, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You're hugging her in there for. And obviously, we mentioned it, but the pop for Alexa Bliss was just lovely to see. And she was great in there. Yeah, Liv Morgan going 67 minutes, Io Sky 66
Name
foot.
something she did.
Eliminated Natalia, so that was a fantastic moment for me.
You got it on your screen.
I made sure to note that down. It's not really
She
fair
does it every year.
to say, everyone knew what Trish's theme was, where they didn't know what, B-Fab's thing was. But me and Phil said, you should arguably use this Rumble as a sort of test for it. I know they're quite
3 years too late for that.
But got 60,000.
Pay for some music,
Yeah.
you cheap bastards.
I
You loaded.
know some people haven't been booked well to get a pop necessarily, but some people came out and it was we were looking at
Yeah.
it's so and so. All those people and some others indeed, even if they do get a pop, deserve licensed music. You're right.
It is.
All of them deserve licensed music. They can afford it.
Well, WWE don't like licensed music.
they're
I wouldn't care
Stingy.
because it doesn't survive replay value. Is the actual reason. It doesn't survive replay value. They want people to be watching the stuff 20 years later and be like, the goddamn fair. And
I think
they dub over the top and it isn't like Enter Sandman disappearing from one night stand, whatever. Well,
by the rights, you cheap bastards. He's loaded.
but they had a model that worked. They've had a model that's worked twice because CFOs knocked out some pretty great themes as well.
You pay for music or get someone talented.
Hire teams of musicians that are talented, better than Def Rebel, that can do this job well and fix this problem, because I would say this is an annual complaint, and I would add something to it this year. A pretty big production misfire, I think, is this massive aisle they've got in these stadium rumbles. This is not the first time we've made this complaint, but the music makes it worse. You said about having you're not just looking at the screen, you're trying to look around a corner on the screen. It takes ages for the wrestlers to get there, ages. And that's okay in some cases. You've got a pop or you've got some pyro. Different
Ludwig
wrestlers,
Kaiser was just funny as well.
different wrestlers make it work, but some of them, the bulk of the time, if you're actually on the clock, is gobbled up by just walking to the ring.
That was also unintentionally funny when Chelsea Green was like, oh, thank God, Piper Niven's here to save me from Bianca and Naomi. Piper Niven's just doing her own entrance, obviously. And Chelsea's like, hurry up!
Just gonna get on with it. But I do want to say it because it was divisive on Twitter on the night. I liked it, but again, this might be down to the company I was with in the room at the time. The presentation of it visually on screen is the good version of your Netflix complaint, Sidge, about going over the top with the exposition dumps in the commentary. And
the little thing at the bottom. I quite like that.
I liked it a lot. It was a little
I didn't hate it at all.
I found the clock a little bit imposing because I just think it's it's a lot of the screen you've taken up and now all the other information disappeared. But things like the elimination count, how many people's left to go, the little stats that were coming up, this is the perfect match for that kind of thing. Our American listeners and friends are used to it through SportsCenter, and to me, a lot of their sport looks like that anyway. There's always seems to be loads of information on the screen, but I genuinely like that. That feels like a new Netflix, who could be the bigger audience. If anyone's going to turn in, they're going to turn up for the Rumble. I genuinely think that added something to the viewing experience, because there was plenty of time in the women's match, especially to look at the data on the screen instead.
Final word on Nikki Bella coming in at number 30. What do you make of that? It's a nice surprise.
Good.
Yeah, I like Nikki Bella.
Through an awful lot.
Yeah.
She was really underrated. She looks in great condition. I'm sure you agree, Wilbourn. I'm happy for her.
She back.
I don't know.
Was
I
the
think
rumours
the
before,
whole
wasn't
point was, she's back. She's been in talks for a proper actual return.
Yeah, always liked her. Always, we talked about this before. Probably doesn't get enough credit for how much she improved when the bar was raised significantly in the women's division, and was one of the few holdovers from the last era of the Divas, I guess. And obviously then injuries and everything mounted up. So
Chat's kind of nailed it here. I think people are right. I think people were not angry at Nikki Bella at coming out at 30, but disappointed it wasn't a Becky Lynch or an AJ Lee. That's not Nikki Bella's fault.
Yeah, I don't expect AJ Lee to come back. Just be surprised if it happens.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole reports surrounding this weekend were basically, it's on her now. WWE said, you want to come back, you can come back tomorrow. But until she wants to do it, and she may never want to. That's kind
It's
of
not her fault when she's had serious neck problems.
Yeah.
That other wrestlers have been able to return. It doesn't necessarily mean she can.
Yeah. Or really wants it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to
Anywhere near as
really
much, yeah.
want it.
Becky Lynch is interesting though.
She's filming something, perhaps I read somewhere.
Expected her. Maybe she was smart to this one. She's had good instincts in the past. Maybe she thought, if I return and don't win, because I'm not going to win this one, is that really good luck? No, it's not a bad bit of business from her point of view to not return, but I did expect her.
Right, let's move on and talk about the tag team title match. 2 out of 3 falls between DIY and Motor City Machine Guns. Of the noises you two have made, I take it you didn't like. I quite enjoyed this match.
I thought it was a bad match. And it wasn't just that it was boring and quiet, and it was the latest in a long line of like stadium, capital G, capital W, good wrestling matches to die on its ass, because it did. I don't know if you could make out like...
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe watched on the stream. I didn't...
I thought it was...
Senator.
Worst case scenario, because it was badly worked as well. It was just not...
I thought they were nice creative for the first fall. I like that touch.
I like that it only took about 2 minutes to get.
Yeah, that was great.
I didn't see that coming. Thanks, guys. But like
why make this 2 out of 3 falls?
I don't know.
A waste of time.
I don't know. Yeah, this was
maybe protecting Motor City Machine Guns. Like you got a pinfall on us by not cheating,
possibly.
but working around it. And then the other one was because of the arrival, which was great to see, the arrival of the Street Profits.
Wade Barrett had to like ask,
yeah,
what? And Michael Cole's like, if you listen, fuckhead. Hey, listen, fuckhead. That's what he essentially said to Wade Barrett, and Wade Barrett was making some salient points about what sense does this make. Right, this match, you don't have to go through the falls. You can if you want. I don't want to listen. We don't do bits.
No.
On this podcast. Every now and then I'll say something hyperbolic for dramatic effect, right? With no hyperbole whatsoever. And this kind of maybe feeds into the discourse surrounding the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble. With no hyperbole whatsoever. There were 65,000 people in this stadium watching this match. Tommaso Ciampa takes a bump that, yes, you see it most weeks when you shouldn't, but it's still pretty like, oof, like wince-inducing. Takes a DDT on the apron. There are 65,000 people in that building, and I'm telling you, single digits, like a maximum of 9. When it's sick. It's a joke. I never feel more in like what's wrong with me than when WWE fans are jam packed into an arena watching the wrestlers who are meant to be good on the undercard do some action that's proficient technically and don't care. It's like. The only analogy I can use, and I know it's flawed, and I'll tell you why it's flawed, but the only analogy I can use is, and it's true to a point, but it also makes no sense, is that when I was younger and I was first like a gig goer, and I'd go and see bands and stuff that I'd heard and loved, and oh God, come to my city. And not many did, even Newcastle. And I'd be like, I'm going to make the most of my time, and it's so exciting. I'm going to go and research the support act. That was the thing of my early gig going career, right? Towards the end of my gig going, and I'm pretty much retired, I can't be asked. I was just like, who's the support act? I would find out on the night. Would I watch them? Maybe. Would I just prefer to have another pint somewhere else? Yes. These WWE fans who go to these shows treat almost the entire under and mid cards like the support act they can't be asked to research because, I'm just here to see the stars. But then they watch them on TV every single week.
Yeah.
Every single week they watch them on TV, and yet they are still treated like the support act for the gig they're going to, that they're too old to really delve into the back catalogue. It's odd. They get nothing every time, and yet they're on TV constantly.
It's weird. The current, like the comparisons
They don't care about professional wrestling at all.
Not a great deal, and nor should they. Like, it's if we were using 2000 as a comparison point, right? The idea was
everyone was over.
Everyone was over, right? And then you look at 2025, and it's easy to sort of paintbrush it and say, same again, everyone's over. Like, look how full the buildings are.
Well, not really.
That's not the case. But I think part of that reason is because the upper mid card into the main event feels way bigger than it was in the year 2000. There was a clearer hierarchy between who was on the undercard forever but could still entertain you. Your Taka Michinoku's, your S.A. Rios's, the Sunday Night Heat Channel 4 era of wrestlers who were always just going to be the lower card guys.
Rikishi and Too Cool and
Rikishi, yeah, they were like, that was the evidence.
And their tag division was over as hell in 2000.
That was the evidence that everybody is over, yeah, because the mid card and the tag, and it was like
the tag team champions.
As you could see, Rikishi was like, could he really break in with like Steve Austin? maybe. And then Austin says, that ain't going to work. And then down he goes again. But the point was that everybody in every slot was over and you were excited to see them. WWE, I think, have given the the impression that is the same. And some weeks it feels that way depending on how hot the crowds are. But this is the reality, as Sidge points out. And it was like kind of the show was cut in half in that regard as well. Because if you think about the singles match that came next and the men's Royal Rumble, that's ultimately where the creative attention goes most weeks. You've got a main event slate of maybe a top 2 or 3, but you've got a right bumping up against the ceiling of maybe 10. And then you've got like quite a healthy like intercontinental US title picture as well. Tags and women. We say this when we're reviewing the weekly TV.
Yeah.
Like tags and women. Chelsea Green gets more TV time. Like it's better for the women on SmackDown and better for the tags on Raw. There's not a lot in it, but it's marginally better for each. This tag division on SmackDown, when we have a bit of fun with this tag division, it's because of the wacky nonsense they're doing backstage, not because of a DIY match. Johnny Gargano the other week said, like, just battered Apollo Crews backstage in a really funny sequence that involved Pretty Deadly. That's good. That's where Johnny Gargano fits, being a wacky little sod. It doesn't translate to them having boots and trunks wrestling matches in front of a stage. It doesn't. This was nice.
Might have called an audible to put Jey Uso over after watching DIY die on their arse.
It was nice for the
good
guns.
wrestling's not what they want. Get Jey Uso out there.
I was thinking during this match, because I had plenty of time to think about anything that wasn't the match. It was nice for the Motor City Machine Guns to get presumably the biggest crowd they've ever worked in front of.
I would describe it as sad.
But I bet it won't be in the top 10, 20 crowds they've worked in front of. You know what I mean? Like they won't rank this.
Bottom? They've worked shithole armories with way more noise than this.
Walking out and looking around might have been...
The impact zone was louder than this.
Yeah, it might have been amazing for them in that first moment of looking around and being, this is cool, this feels like an achievement certificate for us because we've done all the other stuff, the proper stuff that matters, where you get people right there. We deserve this nice little moment. But then, when they're wrestling at silence, and there's what is simultaneously a heel turn and a babyface return, thanks to Michael Cole having to explain it with the Street Profits.
Great to see them back, first of all.
I was buzzing to see them back, and it's perhaps another false dawn for the Street Profits because there's been a few of them. So I'm having to temper my expectations for the time being, but I was buzzed to see the Street Profits back. But again, it was the kind of buzz, a bit like some of the women in the Rumble, that we used to associate with old world WWE, where it's just, I like them. Hope they have good days at work now for a bit. Like, I don't yet trust the process enough to say that the Street Profits will make it to Mania in like a really compelling tag team title story. That's what I want. What am I going to get? A 4-way on the night with Pretty Deadly and the Street Profits and these two again? I need
Maybe
to
do a ladder.
Yeah, Hoy ladder in there, whatever. Just need to be drawn into this story to really care about it, and I just don't yet have the faith they're going to do it. And that's, as a result, what you get. If these characters were over, like, the rest of them would go down like a fart in church, but they'd at least come up for the entrances for their signature spots. Like, there was 3 falls in this match, and half the time the fans are like, "Oh, we want to finish it."
And they equalised.
Where was one of the poses? Why didn't nobody tell me the finish was
When the
coming?
Machine Guns equalised and 1-1, and Shelley got nothing, and he was like celebrating. It was just bleak, man.
I do like it when the Motor City Machine Guns do the facial.
Let's move on and talk about the undisputed WWE Championship ladder match between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. This was... Oh, hello. This is a... Turn up for the books. This was incredible, Sidge.
I loved it. They killed each other, and it was awesome. They killed each other, and it was awesome. And there wasn't much in the way of climbing or the attempts to win. But I love that from Kevin Owens in particular, because the story is traced back to Kevin Owens just should have pulled that trigger when he had the chance, and it was Cody's knee or ankle at Bash in Berlin, and he just kind of took a little bit of pity, and then he's completely regretted it. He's now identified Cody as someone who doesn't look after his own interests. He teamed with Roman after that, and he's like, right, I'm going to have to kill you now. And then he's spent far too long trying to kill Cody and not realizing that there's a title up there to climb. I think it was a deliberate omission in service of Kevin Owens' character and not merely a way to go from one elaborately constructed, really vile ladder spot to the next. Some of this was so painful looking that the sick bastard within me, honestly, some wrestling matches make me feel like Cope. I'm a sick guy. I'm sicker than you, if anything. And this match did it.
Yeah.
This match did it. Kevin Owens hates his spine and his coccyx as much as I hate rated FTR. And I love that for him because it creates some amazing spots. What I loved about this was it's very, usually this is a terrible word, but in this specific instance, I loved the methodical pace here because the spaces between moves and the story they were telling and the body language. Cody Rhodes, right? Everything, and I'm going to bury him later, don't you worry. Everything I hate, everything I really dislike about John Cena and his body language and his facial expressions, everything I dislike about him and the way he goes on now, the antithesis and better of John Cena as Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, the anguish on him was real. I mean, he didn't have to sell for some of those bumps. Like, what was that suplex? That top rope move that Owens does?
Bounces. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where he kind of like flips him.
Yeah, and he just like
bounces off that.
Bounce
Yeah,
up.
what even is that like a gut wrench? Like
Fisherman buster or something. Fisherman's
that's
buster,
it.
top rope on the ladder. I mean, Cody bounced up to the bloody rafters, small of the back heel, the Alabama slam. I mean, some of this looked absolutely vile.
The bit where Kevin Owens got the little ladder. I also popped when he climbed it up and it was like, I'm just going to swat him with it because I want to kill him.
Great stuff. But the spaces between the spots, even though there wasn't much in the way of an attempt to win, it just felt like this really ugly, attritional, this friendship was mutated. I kind of want to kill you. And then Cody's selling. Not that he had to do much of it realistically. He could have used that pain and did something really broad, but it was just like this sort of, he didn't really want to communicate to Kevin Owens or give him the satisfaction, but he was like sprawled over this ladder, like really in a great deal of pain. There's a great shot. Still can't believe that you're talking about this in WWE. A great shot where Cody's just selling like one of these disgusting, like really unhinged commitment to the violence. And this is where the methodical pacing worked for me because there's a spot of Cody just sprawled on the floor, like really clutching at his back. And Kevin Owens is just in the background and you can see Cody in the foreground. And Kevin Owens just looking at him with total and utter disdain. And this thing lasts like about 30 seconds. Just like, you arsehole. I cannot believe I waited this long to have this moment. And I've waited this long to have this moment, obviously to the detriment because he's allowing Cody to recover, that I'm just going to live in it and look at what you are and how much I hate you. And Kevin Owens' facial expressions are amazing. This is one of those matches, and I saw it at the bell, where you thought, I forgot that he's really close friends in real life.
Yes.
Because he's selling me on total hatred. I had a great time with this. I thought it was vile. And that finish looked absolutely awesome. The kind of iconic finish that I shouldn't be able to remember anything from a ladder match. And for most ladder matches, I will remember that as long as I live.
Yeah, unbelievable finish.
Not 5, but 4.5 in old money for this.
I was going to say, people are throwing around 5s in the chat, and Connor the Red making a great point, which I really like, especially when you draw comparisons between Cody and John Cena. Connor saying, us being able to see Cody slowly turn heel is exceptional booking. Because I used to get those moments in matches with like John Cena where he'd be like, handcuffed to Randy, I can really... And then next week, well, hey, all right, guys, I retained the title last night or whatever on the Raw afterwards. Like,
perfect.
Cody's not that person, obviously, but the bit where... So I think it's after that Fisherman's Buster, and they're both sort of recovering. I think that's where the refs, and obviously Sammy's there, and he's in all black, and you're like, what are you doing? In the end, he doesn't do anything, but he's there. Well, he does do something right at the end, I should say. But, like, he's there, and then they go another couple of minutes, and then Cody tries to climb the ladder, and Kevin does the age-old thing, just like grabs his ankle. And Cody's like, right, that's it. I want to kill you now. I'm going to kill you. And he grabs him, and he smashes his face into the post, and then he just slams his head against the table, and he climbs on top of him. And it's like that moment, and it's like, there's a bit of me that was hoping he was going to get more blood, because Kevin Owens is busting open, more blood on that white tape he has, because I was like, I want him to be just stop what you're doing. And then obviously they do the setup, and then the Alabama slam through the ladder, and obviously then Cody just
deranged that.
The bump was horrific. I didn't show. Anne Louise wanted to watch the 2 Rumbles. She wasn't really bothered. She certainly wasn't bothered at a 2 out of 3 tag match, right? But I was like, yeah. And I was like, just before we get to the men's, let me just show you the last 5 minutes of the ladder match. She's like, what are you showing me this for? Cody's obviously going to win or whatever. And I showed her that bump, and she was like, is he actually dead? Like, is he all right?
When like the bend over backwards and the tiptoes almost touch the face.
Yes.
Because they're so
Scorpion.
folded.
Yeah.
It's great. What I love about that as well is Kevin Owens is a lunatic. He probably volunteered to take it, or Cody's he's a bit mischievous, isn't he?
Yeah.
I reckon he's like, do that, Kevin. He's just a dick, but in a really funny way. it's the Alabama Slam. It's like a move that whenever you saw Hardcore Holly do it, you'd be like, you just want to do that because you're horrible. It's kind of, I don't know that many wrestlers, but it's kind of, you have interviews and you talk and all the rest of it, or you read interviews. It's legendary among wrestlers of, oh God, I hate that fucking move. I hate it because you can't really do anything. Like on the power bomb, you can sort of, because it's like literal sleight of hand, it looks vile, but you kind of control them all the way. The Alabama Slam is like, well, tough titties, you might get whiplash out of this. Like, there's no way to sort of like really slow that momentum down. Like, I know Rob Van Dam and Becky Lynch hate taking that. Like Van Dam, and look what he was in ACW, for Christ's sake. Like, there's not a lot he would go, I hate that. He hates it.
So Kevin's, as in the comments have said, folded in the ladder. Cody goes up, obviously wins the match, grabs the belts, takes him down, and there's the moment of like, Sami Zayn cradling his dead friend and his blood all over his face. You're like, well, that's a strong enough visual right there, whilst Cody walks off into the distance. And then Cody, who's a bit of a dickhead, goes back to celebrate in front of them. I just loved that touch. I thought that you talk about the shots from the night. That is just amazing.
Yeah, the things I loved about this match, I loved, but I didn't really love the match, to be honest. Basically everything from when Sami Zayn comes down, the theatre around his presence and how that played out into the finish and how they played out in the post-match especially, loved it. Like, immediately, I'm just buzzing, thinking about the direction, like wondering how that's going to work out for Sami in the Rumble, and it gets even better when he gets in the Rumble. But like how that's going to go between him and Cody, and you're mapping out how you get to Owens versus Zayn at WrestleMania, and there's a couple of fairly obvious and fun routes that you kind of can't wait to watch play out. And with Owens and Zayn, they've continued to surprise you. I wouldn't say wrong foot you, but you think it's, well, Ken's got to get to Sami Zayn in a couple of weeks, and then they go down the guilt trip route. And now they've gone down the guilt trip route, and Sami's actually followed through without actually attacking Cody. He's followed through and he's helped him till the end, which we know. The dramatic irony is that Kevin Owens is not going to be satisfied with that, and down the line he's going to turn on Sami when Sami's got rid of his bloodline mates and whatnot for Kevin all over again. So the fact that they've been able to do that and so close to WrestleMania, fold Cody Rhodes directly into the likely Sami Owens match with potentially a title shot elimination chamber with the potential continued slow burn of Cody Rhodes' heel turn, if that's the plan. It feels like the plan. Wrestling's different now. Sometimes you just got to protect your golden goose.
I don't know if it's a plan. I think it's going to feed into the Cody Cena story.
Maybe, yeah. And those dynamics definitely work better with Cody just being prepared to, I've got to put you out of pasture. If it means being a bit of a bastard. A situational bastard. Cody Rhodes knows his way around that character very, very well. So, like, that's the route to take. The pressure, as Punk mentioned, of becoming the new John Cena, starting to get to Cody Rhodes, the things he's willing to do to hold on to that spot. All that. It's really, really nice creative. The match was, you know, in TV shows and films when somebody's like startled awake, right? I woke with a scream and like shoot a bolt of bright, like that. That was my experience of watching this match. I was laid out virtually asleep, and then a bump would make me just yelp or scream. We rewatched. I felt this way that time again. I was never a fan of it. I liked it more when we rewatched it on our Full Gear watch along, the Kenny Omega John Moxley one. I kind of felt the same there. I could not
bitch, aren't you?
Be wowed. I could not be wowed by the bumps. They were amazing. Just incredible. Like, oh my God, that's what an awful thing he's just done to himself. That looks amazing. Can't believe I've just seen a human being do that. I didn't feel much for anything in between, being honest. Like, I was kind of bored, and then they'd move to a spot, I'd start setting something up, and I was like, here we go. And then because it's Kevin Owens, they'd follow through on it. And I didn't feel much, truthfully. And then when I knew, like, I was a might as well have been an in-arena fan, because when I knew the finish was on the way, I started coming up for it a little bit. As soon as Sami Zayn arrived, I was like, I'm actually locked in now. At no point before then did they really drag me in. I've been a bit disappointed with both the matches. Thinking about it, I didn't really like the
Bash and Berlin was the best one they had.
Yep, I didn't like the Saturday Night's Main Event one all that much.
This might be my favourite match of the year so far.
Well, yeah,
Come on.
it's January.
Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd happened, so let's not.
I haven't watched that yet. I'll get around to it. But
It just bumps were, it's Kevin Owens in this setting. He would have taken, like, both of them in their own ways would have been on task to try and make this, like, bring ladder matches back Like Punk and Drew in the cell. Can we bring the violence of a ladder match back? That
I think they definitely had that conversation.
Yeah.
Nowhere near as iconic as that Hell in a Cell, but I think I preferred it.
Right, let's get to the men's.
No rubbish bracelet stuff. So
the bracelet version was Sammy, wasn't it? Like the theatre at the end, the stuff that matters. The stuff that counts. The bumps you forget. The bumps you forget, the moments you don't.
Nah,
that's what I always said.
Bumps are cooler. Bumps are cooler.
Moments are better. Bracelets and friendship.
Like moments so much, why don't you marry them?
I wish I could. Me, my wife, my moment wife. Just moments of friendship and love. That's all I'd say. Don't need any bumps in that situation, Sidge. Don't need any ladders to fall on. Just have my moments, thanks. Just nice family moments.
Right, let's get to the men's Royal Rumble match and do this in sort of a weird reverse order because I want to talk about this obviously the most.
One Rumble match has got to start disastrously every year, it would seem.
Yeah.
Yes, Penta eliminated early.
Yeah.
But stayed in for 42 minutes regardless.
Yeah. Sorry, it was out. Rules are rules.
Yeah. One foot did touch the floor and then the other one did as well. But look, let's start.
It's only 37-year-old rule in place.
Wrong way round. Jey Uso shocks the world. Your reaction to this?
Loved it. They ultimately laid out a bunch of winners who would have been massive for the Cody match or massive for the political implications or the various people and how WrestleMania is going to lay out. Instead, they have picked the best possible winner of somebody that's likely not going to headline either of the nights. That's, in one respect, a little bit cheeky, in another, a booking masterstroke. They've given you a ginormous answer to a big question that everybody had and left a bunch of stuff. Still a mystery, still really captivating, en route to Elimination Chamber, the Sky Dome, another stadium that they're going to fill with the ramifications. Like, they're booking for these big venues en route to WrestleMania, let alone WrestleMania itself. The Rumble and the Elimination Chamber are in stadiums. So it's like, right, how do you make this massive crowd that you're trying to draw feel completely engaged with so many people where there can only be so many high stakes? You can only have, like, say, one title match, or you can only have one winner of a Rumble. How do you do it? Well, they've done it.
How do you do it?
That, like, bigger picture, it's not just Jey Uso winning, it's how they've managed to make all of those massive stars lose. It asked and answered for me, this. I also wanted, because the one consistent of the 3 Triple H men's Rumbles has been that epic 2-man closing stretch, and he did it again for me. Like, John Cena and Jey Uso wasn't good scientifically.
Dramatic.
But it was dramatic. There was drama out the ace. The idea that, like, everybody is probably having loads of similar thoughts of, yeah, but neither can. John Cena's going to WrestleMania this way. Didn't think that was going to happen. Jey Uso's winning the Royal Rumble, and then one of these things is going to happen. I don't think I've felt like this since Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker in 2007, because it's like not the old guys. Like, it's always an Edge or a Randy, like this era.
It's
where,
always
like,
Randy Orton or Randy Orton.
It's always freaking Randy Orton.
It's always like Randy Orton, though, isn't it?
It's Randy Orton again. Like, it just didn't feel possible that it could be a Jey Uso John Cena climax to all of this. So, all that's to say, I don't feel like the bubble that a lot of people listening and watching this, I guess, discourse around Jey Uso holds a lot of weight. I think you can not like that your favourite didn't win. And in a way, that's you getting really invested in the fiction. So they've got you.
I'm so pissed off with Logan Paul.
This is it, right? If you're rooting for a Punk or you're rooting for a Roman because they're your guys, then they've just done a brilliant job of roping you into the fiction. That's what the braveness is all about. If you are genuinely observing this, trying to put your business hat on and being like, yeah, but he's rubbish, and like the Jimmy match last year was the Turcarino of the year.
Turcarino of Turcarinos.
You are missing so much of what's in front of your face as a totally justified reason to do this. So, like, a success story already, I think, given Jey Uso this, I think.
For me, right, I love that they went with not a complete outsider, but every single year, even the heavily pushed guys are virtual outsiders, considering there's always one or two. Here there was 3. Cena, Roman, Punk, where you think, even if I don't think Roman, for example, is winning, it's how does he get eliminated and what does it lead to, To go with a virtual outsider is great. I'm going to phrase this carefully, right? Because I don't want to be misinterpreted. I'm not saying Jey Uso is as good as 2012 Kazuchika Okada, or this was quite on par with a Rainmaker shock, But my God, the next 5 Rumbles at least, I'm thinking, well, Jey Uso won in 2025.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jey Uso won in 2025. I think this is a good booking decision for now, and I think this is an excellent booking decision with the next 5-10 years of the Rumble. Maybe 5 is underestimating things because...
Then now forever, perhaps.
Together. Well said, Sid.
Even last year, just a very quick detour into New Japan Pro Wrestling. I can't remember the specific match. Was it Tsuji against Naito? It was basically a big IWGP Heavyweight Championship match, which is, if you don't know, New Japan's top prize. And what happened in 2012 was someone who just came back from excursion thought they were going to have a nice little mid-card run and see out what he's got. Okada beat Tanahashi and dethroned a record reign. And it was so shocking. Him, because people thought he sucked as well. Parallels. I mean, Uso's never going to be as good as Okada eventually. Probably wasn't even good as Okada in 2011. But it's called the Rainmaker Shock. And because that happened, every single time there was a big kind of predictable looking match in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you'd think, well, the Rainmaker Shock happened. Gedo could do it again, you know? This lasted for so long that a decade later, Yota Tsuji, who was another sort of come back from excursion, people had an idea that he could be big. He went up against, I think it was Naito in a title match 1 or 2 years ago and went, well, do the Rainmaker Shot again. That precedent was so strong and impactful that it informed people's, that 1% of doubt or the 10% of doubt even. I love that this result happened. I love that the result happened, no matter where it leads, no matter how bad the Gunther match is or if it's bad or not. Spoiler alert, the drama and the stakes and the importance of the occasion are going to add an extra 2 stars to the 1. So it's at least going to be 3 stars, right? The stakes and the drama and the people wanting Jey Uso to win is what Jey Uso needs. We saw it with Bron Breakker.
I would argue it's WrestleMania sized.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are missing when they're looking at what he's actually won here. I think that is WrestleMania sized.
6.5 stars. If you judge their SmackDown's main event, and then
still wouldn't be as good as Kenny Omega. So I loved the booking decision, right? One more thing. No, 2 more things. I don't think people had their fun with it online. It's like, oh, Scotty's too hot. You headlined WrestleMania. That's what they've done. Okay, yeah. Whatever.
Well done.
Well done. Well done. I think people are underestimating how big a star Jey Uso is. I know people don't care about numbers and WWE's bottom line, nor should you. You should care about wrestling. Watch AEW. It's better for that. And that's what they want you to think, and that's what they do. It's about stars, not about merch, not about in-ring ability necessarily. It's about being a star and being promoted as a star. I don't think people have quite grasped just how big of a star Jey Uso is. He's a massive star.
Or refuse to correlate those things.
Yeah. He's
the numbers, the merch, the reactions. How does that happen? One feeds
because
the
he's
other.
A star, because he's a star and it's a star business. He's a massive star that the people are in love with. And he's not just a sentimental favorite. He's actually quite really cool as well. He's like a cool wrestler, and that's rare. People, and you mentioned this, Hamflett, when he's sharing the screen with Roman, they almost appear equals now.
Yeah.
Which is an incredible bit of storytelling business from them, you know, over the past 4 years. He is one of the biggest stars who gets the biggest reactions, and people love him in one of WWE's most successful eras. Like, I think people fail to comprehend just how big this guy is and how much it's earned and how much of a big deal it is, right? Here's another thing before we move on to other aspects of the Rumble. There is a cruel but very simple question to ask, and I think this gets to the heart of the matter. Cruel but simple. And this is the question that everyone kind of asks. I'm going to try and refine it. Is Jey Uso too bad at wrestling even for WWE fans? That's what it boils down to, right? I would argue, is he too bad even for WWE fans? There's 2 different answers. Yes, if he's in Cody's spot, going for the last match on the show, right? The face of the promotion, selling out all the buildings, the guy, the quarterback. He's too bad to be the quarterback. He's fucking miles better than Damian Priest, or better than him. And moreover, he can absolutely be a B-level world champion, and that's what he's going to do, right? That is what he's going to do. He's not too bad to have that world title, right? It's the best possible version for me of, oh, well, Seth Rollins needs something to do. Oh, but a master show, give it to Jey Uso instead. He's more over and he's cooler. And realistically, Seth Rollins might be able to mechanically perform moves better than Jey Uso, whose spear on Cena looked pitiful, I might add. But if you're going to be Seth Rollins, Jey Uso can do that. That's much better. So those are all my thoughts on Jey Uso winning.
The thing with Jey Uso as well, like for years and years and years and years and years and years, like, and even now sometimes, but especially in like the 20 years, 02 to 2022, the amount of times, for no good reason other than Vince McMahon, shorthand, just didn't strike while the iron was hot. The Jey Uso iron has been piping hot for 2 years, and they continue to strike.
They should have given up on him, but he's too over.
And he stays over.
Yeah.
They always strike when this iron's hot. Always. He's had a singles title. He's had a run at Gunther. He had runs at titles beforehand when it was feeding the Big Jim story and the other Bloodline story, when he was kind of finally starting to break through as a singles babyface. So it's not like they're just like, oh, he's so over, but it's just never the right time. It's never. They go with him every time. He loses, the fans pick him back up and he goes again. Like, keep doing that. If nothing else, like he could lose his title match at WrestleMania, and based on evidence, the fans will pick him back up and root for him to win Money in the Bank, and just keep striking, because if the iron's still hot, keep striking. Jey Uso is,
and if Sammy wins Money in the Bank,
and this year it might actually. I just think he's those
Senator.
I haven't done the Senator face.
The Scotty Too Hot.
That was my
example.
wry, look what I have to deal with guy's face. This is a Senator face.
Senator.
I saw a bunch of flippant comparisons over the weekend to Jey Uso, and one that I thought was quite accurate at the time, bit cruel but quite accurate, was when it was like he was fighting Damian Priest, Clash at the Cat. No, one of the
Backlash
France. It wasn't any good, and people were saying
Never is.
It's like, well, yeah, this would be what happened if like Jim Duggan got a title shot too.
Jimmy Valiant.
Because people went, oh, and people were timeless to go, oh, and here we are, but you never put the belt on Jim Duggan or whatever. And maybe Jey Uso won't win. But I think even...
Jim Duggan could actually work, though.
Well, the WWF Jim Duggan, who was there just to...
I know.
Say tough guy and do a clothesline and not be as great as he was. Like, now there's a Mid-South Street fight I would like to watch.
Yes.
But no, he's ascended beyond that. Like, any comparison you make at this point, I think is inaccurate, because Jey Uso is a one-off. They have found themselves quite a unique situation. And with someone like that, you give them a Royal Rumble. Genuinely. Like, they have... There's been some trash winners over the years. Like Alberto Del Rio was given all of this and then some. And I'm not speaking on him as a person in real life. Abhorrent.
It's always important to remember that he was a really bad wrestler as well.
A terrible
as well
wrestler.
as a human being.
Yeah. A dead boring, like consistently boring, underwhelming act who was given this and then some. Like, look, there is no comparison between the crowd connection at all. So, like,
And he had to throw 39 over the top rope.
Well, indeed. I honestly think a lot of people
Indeed, I love that.
won't want to admit that this
Indeed.
weekend they were simply enraged that their favourite wrestler didn't win a match. And how cool is that? In 2025, my favourite didn't win. I'm raging. I want to smash the house up. Like, well, it's a work. Somewhat. Like,
And people are so now invested in, like you say, if it had been Punk, I do sort of understand people saying, if it had been Punk, hey, it's Punk, Cody, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
The road to WrestleMania may be incredible. But it is just like, oh, cool, well, that's set for 2.5 months' time then. Like, now it's like, right, well, what the hell happens with Punk, Cena, Roman, blah, 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 on from there. And one of the world titles is out of the picture, or potentially out of the picture.
It's a nice segue to the Punk elimination, and like we'll get onto all the stuff wrapped around that. I'm the biggest Punk guy. Cannot wait to see him wrestle at WrestleMania. Touch wood, no injuries, no sort of blow-ups backstage and all that. Want to see that. Want to see that. For me as a fan, want to see that for him as a wrestler. Really want to see it in the main event, because I just think that's an amazing story, and my wrestling fan brain kind of wants to see that chapter closed at long last. The elimination popped me. I was like, you bastards, you brilliant bastards. The name check on Friday that completely existed in its own world with by the way, we'll never review it, fantastic gripping back and forth with Kevin Owens as he lays traps for that down the line. And he's laid one here, and it's Logan Paul. I was just, what a phenomenal little bit of, like a booking flex, basically, because you might never even get to Punk and Logan Paul, but over the course of 48 hours, we've learned just the disdain a CM Punk has for Logan Paul, in kayfabe, whatever. That's what you would think, and then they do it. gutsy, impressive.
Really gutsy.
And as
Levesque doesn't usually have the balls.
The physical, the laying out of the moment, so that Punk, and he takes a rough bump in order to land facing Roman, so they have just enough time to have a conversation which distracts Roman to free him up to get that violent double-footed curb stomp. Like all of that has to.
Did he slip?
Who, Seth?
Yeah, I think he slipped.
I don't know, like because he.
I mean, it's
both feet on the head.
It's the coolest thing he's ever done.
Was it possibly because he was using his left and he was using his right, so maybe he didn't have the balance because he looked like he went to do it with his left.
He can't do something that cool on purpose.
Kill the guy.
No, that right. He had nowhere to put his foot, did he?
Yeah.
He just was like, oh, I'll just kill him instead.
But you
Good stuff. Good instincts.
Punk to drop like that, for that to work, and it was like, and then there's Logan like just getting to grin and like, look at all the carnage I've got. Sublime stuff.
I reckon it was really gutsy, and we were just talking, me and Hamflett, like probably this time last week, thinking, yeah, I'm over Logan Paul. He's done the thing where it's like, oh, he's good and he's gifted at this and he's precocious, but it's getting a bit boring, and now we'll loop that pattern, and now he feels like an arsehole all over again.
Yep.
Talk about the men's rumble and then we'll chat.
Yes, I just want to give a shout out. I will get to the questions in the chat in due course. So I'm going to give a shout out to Harrison Maynard, who says this rumble reminded me of when Drew won the rumble, a deserving wrestler getting shot up to the main event to go against a massive heel, which is exactly what you two have been laying out there.
Jey Uso needs to bleed a gusher at WrestleMania.
Yes.
Instant 2 extra. For the stakes and the desire for Jey Uso to win and then make him piss blood.
He gets to a 5. You're going to work it up to a 5.
Yeah, everyone gets a 5 these days.
So Ray and Penner obviously started it. Then you had Chad Gable in there, Mello, Santos. It starts picking up.
Good idea, terrible execution, all that.
Otis comes out, and there's a nice moment between him and Chad Gable. Then business picks up because Bron Breakker comes out and kills everybody. They had moments throughout this where it was just like, oh, it's kind of like, okay, we've got your, you've got your Andrades out there and Big Jim's out there. That's nice. Oh God, Jacob Fatu's here. Everyone's going to die. And you had that earlier on with Bron Breakker. I think possibly my favourite celebrity involvement in Royal Rumble history came after that. So you have Akira Tozawa getting jumped by Mello. Oh, no, he can't do it. Anyone else? You do it. And you're like, oh, he shows speed, really? And then
I knew it was going to be awesome. I knew it was going to be awesome instantly.
You get the elimination. He eliminates someone with the help of Bron Breakker, but he eliminates Otis. And then he just, and as he's doing this, you can see Bron Breakker already powering up and the spear.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, keep pressing that. Keep pressing that.
Oh my God.
It's the best.
Good.
And then he
killed the guy.
And then he's not even like, okay, just dump his carcass out. Then chuck him to others, and he can throw him over the desk and cut his leg wide open as well. It was brilliant.
Magic. It was magic.
Magic. And can I just say, one of my least, I'm no fun, I know this. One of my least favourite things about Rumble Law, great, these wacky surprises. It's like, do they just invite everyone, past, present, and future, to be in these Royal Rumbles? How do they get a spot? It's fake. I'm no fun. Actually, a little bit of detail as to why he was in there. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So that was the end of him forever, perhaps.
Did you see the Akira Tozawa tweet, by the way?
Yes.
What's he said?
Even funnier.
Unbelievable bit of
Yes.
patter. So obviously he got eliminated or stopped before he even got in. And he's just put a tweet out, and it's like him lying on the floor broken. And it just says, 8 years since I came to WWE. This is my first time making an entrance at the Royal Rumble. Next year, I want to take even one step closer to the ring. Thank you.
Oh.
So it's an ongoing bit
Well,
now.
somebody's going to take him out 3/4 of the way. there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a split second, by the way, when I think it was Cena was making his entrance and Fatu had just been eliminated by Braun, which I thought was a nice touch. And I genuinely was scared. When Fatu was there, like, I'm smashing this place up, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. He's so unpredictable.
He's the best.
They let that breathe as well, didn't they?
was
Like, they
that,
shot him.
and then-
There's a chair
Cena-
going.
Cena the daggers as he was walking.
I thought
behind
he's going to take out John Cena before he even makes it into the ring for a split
Should
second.
kill John Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So yeah, Fatu's coming in at
him. Total Squash City Jones.
coming in at 12. And then at 15, say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry comes out.
That pop. Out
What
the
a pop.
Pop out the ass.
For real, that one, wasn't it?
Sheamus loving it, of course. He gets to hit some moves on the Miz, and then he gets taken out by Roman Reigns, who is the next entrant. That was
It's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got to be a nice. You got to be one of them situations where I wonder if he was like having a bit of an outer body, watching himself compete with Roman Reigns in a Royal Rumble. That must have been like a real career moment.
Roman got rid of a few people when he came and just spear, out you go, spear, out you go, sort of clearing out. I like the men's one in terms of like the 8, it's sort of like 8, 9, 10 people in. Oh, no, someone's come in, Bron Breakker, Jacob Fatu, Roman, whoever it is. Back down to like 6. There's a few more people. Oh, back down. Get him out of there.
Rumbles.
Yeah, Rumbles.
That's
Yeah.
broadly how this should go.
Remember him?
We talked a lot. We're not going to talk much about Drew here. We talked a lot about him on the Raw preview.
Check it out.
We got
Check
one more,
it out.
Ron and Jacob.
Yes, I should
Like
mention.
one more every time they put this together.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's
WrestleMania main event.
Yeah, probably.
Like, Jacob Fatu with anyone. Like, it's a bit where I can't remember who it was who'd come in. I think someone. Oh, it was Miz. Maybe Miz thought it'd be a good idea to like hit him in the back, and he turned around and licked his grill. And Miz looked like he was going to legitimately throw himself over the top rope at that moment. I think Jacob Fatu, as Andy said on the news, hot take is really good.
Yeah.
Just. And like I saw people getting pissed off that Braun eliminated him, but I'm scared to see what his response is to that.
It's sort of, almost using the Rumble match to build a match book in here. So they didn't need to give a finish away at Saturday Night's main event, and they haven't needed to give a finish away here, and it feels 1-1. And
Yeah.
nobody's got the win yet.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a decider when in reality it's they can build it up as the first proper match.
Of course, Braun Strowman eliminated by John Cena.
Right, interjection. Interjection.
Can I do the elimination?
Mm-hmm.
Throws. It feels very appropriate. It's me doing this. Throws Braun Strowman over the top rope and basically goes, "Way!" Over to you, Michael Sidgwick.
What an absolute fucking geek John Cena is. I hate him so much. Yeah, you know what I do hate?
I know.
Why? Way! That stupid gurning bracket of his. I really think he's bad at this.
Not for me, I liked it.
He's like, he's little brewing himself. He is little brewing himself. Good for me. I got an elimination in a Royal Rumble. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's little brewing himself and he's crafting this persona inexplicably where he's like new to this almost.
Have you seen the character development though? This was, you know how John Cena can't act, which is interesting. That
He's getting worse at
moved into
acting when he's actually drawn a bit of acclaim for his...
It's LTST. You can't see me, LTST, because
No, just say words, don't play with them.
after the fact,
Play with your words.
after the fact, when he entered himself into the elimination chamber, the idea was,
Well, what sense did that make?
hang on, I'll tell you. He went into the Rumble and realised,
As a child who'd won a competition.
yes, and he was too happy to be there, and it's cost him, and he wasn't focused, and he had this realisation within the Rumble when he was in there with Jey Uso, and it was suddenly WrestleMania was within touch and distance in a real way more than a, way, I'm back in the wrestling, where it hit him, no, I've got to become John Cena again. So everybody can say what they want about me on TV over the next month. I'll be in that chamber, and they're not going to get smiling, happy to be here, John Cena. They're going to get, like, the ace is kicked in a cage by John Cena, because it's taken me that to realise who I need to be in this comeback run.
It doesn't excuse his terrible facials. His
Glad you-
terrible facials.
I'm glad you asked that because Addy's been in the super chats. Thank you, Addy. I'll get to your other questions in a bit. He did want to know our thoughts on the John Cena press conference.
Tremendous. Love it as a
Yeah.
bit. Love it. I was happy to see Cena back. I'm big into this Cena run already. I
Hate
like
him,
John Cena.
hate him, hate it. So he does that. Okay,
11
maybe
months
you've
to go.
explained a little bit. Maybe you've explained a little bit of it. I still think his face is stupid, and his expressions are even
Call
stupider.
him John Stupid Face.
Yep. So I'm probably skipping ahead of the recap here. Do the bit where there's the big moment. I'll piss on that as well.
Oh, this was so cool.
No,
Can I
it's-
just say this? Where I'm not going to get another chance to say this. You're going to move on. He's a better actor than The Rock, though, somehow, isn't he?
Not in wrestling.
Not in wrestling, but he's a better actor than The Rock.
I've not seen Cena in anything, you know.
Just in general. Like,
I've seen Jumanji.
They both come back and they both just.
He's very good in
stinking out
Suicide
of the
Squad. I will
fin.
give you that.
I haven't seen Jumanji, to be fair. I've seen Jumanji.
Watch Suicide Squad. He's very good in that.
Nah, don't like superheroes. Let's watch Twin Peaks.
It's kind of the good version of a superhero thing there, though, because they're all it's very self-aware, I suppose.
Yeah,
it
don't-
insists on
don't-
itself, some might say, though. So, you know. But yes, there's the moment with Cena, Roman, Punk, and then...
Spoil it all by doing something stupid like freak you. Seth Rollins does not belong in that company, no matter how much he insists or WWE insists, and I don't even like that company very much, but Seth's not there. So they do the thing. There should have been a one-on-one Cena Punk thing. There should have been a one-on-one Cena
I do
Punk
agree
thing,
with that.
especially when Punk and Tease did, and people got a lot of nostalgia out. The feud went on way too long, if you ask me.
Career-based opponents, I think. I used to say that to wind up Ring of Honor fans on forums.
I like that.
I meant it. I think like Cena was as good for Punk as Punk was for Cena. I genuinely like soulmates in a strange, ugly match way. Genuinely wrestling soulmates, but I was doing it mainly to needle some mojo.
So they should have done the face-to-face meeting instead of this big. They're all out because when Seth Rollins comes out, John Cena's like, "What? Him as well? How epic is this?" I hate his facial expressions and
They might do
and the
Cena.
way he gans on.
They might do Cena Punk at Chamber, I suppose. Like, they're at someone's been eliminated.
There's time for
There's
everything,
time,
but
there's
John
time for
Cena
them.
stinks.
I loved all of this. My God. And you knew the thing is, you knew it was coming. Like
It's
when,
just, you might as well just buy a poster with them all on. That's what it was.
yeah, but this poster moves.
And I like moving graphics.
John Cena moves all right.
Like Jagger, only old Mick Jagger.
See the bit where him and Jay both took clotheslines that needed them through?
Yeah.
And that was right near the end. They just both ran past each other doing this.
Like, was it in The Simpsons where like, all the male Simpsons are thick? They put bins on their head and crash into each other. That's two sort of John Cena.
Does he suck, bro?
It's wrestling. Punk coming out in the Bret 93s. Oh, God,
Oh,
yes.
God, Jesus, what an Easter egg. Bret Hart is...
Hey, it's different Bret, Sidge. It was a Rumble Bret, yeah? It was a SummerSlam Bret, a SummerSlam. It was a Rumble Bret. Respect the fucking game. And I don't even mean Triple H.
I do.
I love that. And you knew it was Punk in that moment. Of course, it was going to be
Of
Punk.
course, the second best wrestler to continuously pay tribute to Bret Hart after Dax Harwood. I can't even do it.
Do not even dare.
I also liked on the
flip
chat.
this desk.
I do like the bit on the live stream where people were really angry at Logan Paul for coming out in 30, and me and Phil for the last 5 entrants have been like, "Oh, cool! So we know our last 5 entrants who they're going to be because they've already declared."
Yeah, they weren't lining up any surprises. That felt
Smash some lad's camera as well on his way to the ring, and all the people on the internet are like, "Where now about that?" Which is also really funny.
Does that work?
I don't know. Probably. I doubt he's just gone out
Rip
there.
a camera out of somebody's hand and
Yeah.
throw it on the ground.
Yeah, he's not.
I mean, he's not a good person, so I
His
suppose...
prime is delicious. I don't think people realise this. I had a can of it on Saturday night. It was lush. It didn't have any C4, which is good because there wasn't any sponsorship of that.
You know
he
what?
didn't have to have 60 cans.
I'm not doing a bit because we don't do bits on this
Only
podcast.
No, you did.
Traipse downstairs, 5 a.m., 2 Rumbles matches. My son comes down, watches the last 10 minutes of the Rumble. He's like, "Oh, Logan Paul's in it." It doesn't matter. It's just YouTube. Like, the kids love YouTube. He's a YouTuber.
I Sure Speed got that from the boys as well.
And I was like, I don't like Logan Paul. Cheer for one of the other ones. No, he's Prime. Prime. And you start chanting for Prime, just like you. You want 9. Prime.
I loved all of this.
Lame.
Punk.
Rumble fell off a cliff for me.
No, so incorrect. The bit when Logan Paul's in there and every wrestler pulls the other one away just to put the boot in on Logan Paul.
Yeah,
That was
my go.
such a great spot. Like, I think it was Seth Rollins first,
Yeah.
maybe, or Drew McIntyre then, Seth Rollins.
I'll have some.
AJ's, that's good, actually. I'll have a bit of that.
Great to see AJ back, by the way. I should have not mentioned that.
This was weird because
It was good.
they gave him, that's AJ Styles WWE run. Good. The good AJ Styles.
He had one-
He's not phenomenal
You know
anymore.
what he
but
is? He's the soccer mom Triple H.
Yeah.
He had one good year.
It's dead impressive that he can still gew and look
Can
as
he?
good as he does. I mean, like, when I say go, I mean the good AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Just change his nickname.
The
and it's
broadly fine. From the
factually
phenomenal
accurate
AJ Styles. The broadly fine AJ.
fine. I would say he's the factually accurate AJ Styles, but he thinks the Earth's flat, so that didn't work. So I just said the broadly fine AJ Styles.
We've got a lot to cover off in the comments, so I assume we can do that, and then we can touch on any other points we've missed
That
out.
Triple H ass run in WWE, and more people should point it out.
Sorry, just super quick, because we touched on it but didn't finish off on it. Do you think Seth Rollins here, I know you will say no flatly, do you think Seth Rollins did enough to even generate a conversation about it being made a 3-way? Because that was clearly what he was
did,
working
yes, I think
towards.
he's
And he was
generated
really good. I
one
like
of his
that
super
brawl a
kicks
lot.
looks so weak as pace.
Really hot brawl though, like all three of them out there.
It wasn't a hot brawl. It was a brawl that the crowd reacted hotly to. The one thing he did that was good in it, I'm fairly certain he did it by accident.
He's never done. I slipped him as awesome.
He's never done anything as sick as that in his entire life.
Yeah.
Mr. Phoenix in the chat was running through the Mania card and has put Jay Gunther, Charlotte Tiff, obviously, Cody Punk, Jordan Grace, Rhea Ripley, which I would love, Roman Rollins off the back of this, Naomi Belair, Jade, Roxanne Bailey, Drew Priest, and Cena versus Joe, assuming it's Joe Hendry for the TNA title at Mania. Hit the OMG button.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them matches probably won't happen. But on Roman Rollins, sorry, come on. On Roman Rollins, if there was a chance that was going to happen, and they've put a lot of work into the law supposedly mattering to Roman Reigns especially, and when something matters to Roman Reigns, he's the tree, so you can make it matter to everybody. It was the closest this era has come to the infamous Orton-Cena stare down. Like, getting nothing in front of the WrestleMania sign. It didn't get nothing. It got a reaction.
What got something?
Roman and Seth having their face off. It wasn't... There was a lot of, like, very hot moments in this Rumble, and I wouldn't say them two having a face off was one of them. So, whilst it could be on a maybes list, I think this might be evidence that there's not quite enough in that singles match. Shield fans care. Roman Reigns can elevate all of his stories.
I don't think if you're doing night, well, I assume they're doing night one main event, Roman versus Punk.
Yeah.
They don't need Seth, obviously.
Sorry, while we're on me burying John Cena 5 minutes ago, who was to blame for Finn Balor almost breaking his neck? Because in such an eventful Rumble, that didn't get anywhere near enough attention as it should have. That was
late, wasn't he?
Braun was late, but Cena didn't seem to be checking if he was on time. I think it was between the two of them.
Maybe.
Unacceptable, that. Like, genuinely, that looked horrifying.
Yeah. Right, lots of comments and questions to get through. I want to start by shouting out Larry Robb, who got a lot of love on our stream on Saturday. You could spot him second row to the left, basically.
And we want details, by the way, Larry, on how Braun Breaker knows about Michael Hamflett.
Indeed. It popped my kids daft seeing my big dumb face, especially because they couldn't read the T-shirts. They don't know the truth of just how gross their dad is. He sat in front of the wrestling with a tray.
Larry says, good
made
morning.
It like a normal night with them, you know. They don't know just how grim it is. Image of me watching my wrestling the way I like.
Larry says, good morning. I just want to say thank you to the WhatCulture Wrestling community helping make my weekend be the best. I can't wait to see how the roller coaster ride to WrestleMania ends. Thanks again for the great content. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
OG Stem Cell says, I may not agree with Jay winning the Rumble, but live in Cleveland, me and my son will be yeeting our asses off when he comes out. Rumble was great. Logan eliminating Punk was top tier. Addy, I mentioned earlier with the thought on the Cena presser. Addy says, hello to the OTJ, Dr. Fed, and the Elitist. Thoughts on the obvious elephant in the room? Huh. Speed's cameo, which we have covered.
Nelly's feeling frisky.
It's WrestleMania season for Nelly.
Despite me not wanting it, Jay winning the Rumble was an all-timer. And by the way, no hate. He says the Elitist is just a fun name because you love the Elite, says Addy. At least one top guy is getting shafted at Mania. Who do you expect it to be? I hope it's not AJ, maybe Finn. I suppose those names haven't even entered into the conversation, have they?
Well, that says it all. That says it all. What did Finn Balor do in this Royal Rumble?
No music, so didn't get poppy, did it?
No.
Yeah, I mean, Finn Balor, that ship has sailed.
We covered this in detail, and I would recommend people go listen to the Raw preview. We talked a lot about Drew McIntyre. It could still end up being Drew, but as you pointed out, Sidge, treat the Damian Priest match as a challenge rather than
do what Batista and The Undertaker did. Yeah. Unfancied, smash out the park, and then show us that you're great. Don't just tell us that you're great. Show me it. I'm sick of wrestlers. The currency now is still, even post Vince, a lot of wrestlers go on as if Vince is still there or their opportunities, and I don't get the chance. I think you do in 2025. It's just whether you're good enough or whether you want it to be at that top level for that long.
Seth I sensed in the Rumble that they've told him what's going to happen. He's feeling all right. But it's hard to see that at the moment if it is a Roman Punk singles match. It's hard to see exactly where he gets something he wants.
Matt Rain says, happy Monday, brothers.
Oh!
Absolute shock at the weekend, but enough about Arsenal City. Have a great week, guys. Maybe
Don't remind us we've got one Wednesday.
Maybe you'll see Roxanne Perez on Raw tonight, King. Cheers. Love you guys, says Matt. Thank you for that, Matt Rains. Richard C's got a great question here. Watched the Rumble Sunday with my 8-year-old nephew. As Dadleys, when do you think a child should be told it's all a work, and how and when did you find out?
I found out, I've told the story before on the podcast, I found out when I asked, I would have been like young, 5, 6, 7, really young, and asked my dad why there were no bruises when they were getting punched. And he said, but just because they're not hitting each other for real, son. And I was like, all right. And just carried on watching. And here we are.
No tact whatsoever.
He just said, oh, no, it's all right. They're not really hurting each other. And I have basically taken that on with the kids. It's easier to do it now than it ever was. Because, I mean, because my kids aren't really into it. So your nephew might be a bit different. But you don't, it's wrestling itself. You don't need to sell the work as the be all and end all. You need them to buy into the idea of it, and then it doesn't matter. That would be my stance on all of this. Gone. It's like kayfabe itself. Like, you don't need to keep it in order for your kids to enjoy the show. I personally don't think.
There was a little twat who lived like one street down from me, a known malcontent, who just didn't think much of the family, who just was always around. It's like
folks didn't like you hanging out.
I don't think he was ever invited in retrospect. I think he just travelled up to the street and ruined everybody else's vibe. The vibe fucker. That's what he was. And he would come into the little park next to our house and just ruin everything and be a little bit aggressive and mean. And he told me, that's fake, I cried, ran home. Asked my dad, is it fake? 'Cause I was a little bitch. I'm like you when I was a kid. And
What did I do?
You don't like bumps, man. You're not sick. And then I went down. Aye. Of course it is, son. Not work to do it yourself. And I was like,
Go on, son, you're in year 11.
demonstrably not, father. And then I just was like, I still love it.
Yeah.
I still love it.
Exactly.
If you love it, set them free.
What age then? Sort of 8, 9, 10 is fine for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all good.
Hi to Aaron Shackelford, who says, speaking of entrances, someone could have come out to Metallica's Where Is Your Crown, King Bollocks?
King Bollocks.
Tactical Penguin says, afternoon, lads. Sorry for my foul mood on the stream. Don't drink, kids. Still not agreeing with the results, but I've started thinking about scenarios. I'll post below because characters aren't enough. I'd like to see Jay playing with Gunther's air of superiority by blanking him the match at Mania. Even twisted to have Gunther challenge Jay. Think it would be an easy win with some actual mind games.
Some stuff they can do with this, which is astonishing considering it was like a dead rubber. Oh, they've killed SNME already.
Yeah. I've got a question now.
This Rumble was really well booked, They've made Saturday night's main event feel like, oh, Christ, implication. Like, things happen on the back of this.
Like we were saying,
I hate it when Levesque cooks.
they needed
I really resent him.
They needed it. We were saying, are they going to need a title change here or something to make it feel like an event? No, it's just the consequences are enough. Enough. I want to hear more about Tactical Penguin booting off on the stream.
He probably doesn't like Jey Uso, is that it?
Not happy with, Charlotte, or definitely Jey Uso. Yeah. People were, it was a mixed bag of reactions when Jey Uso won that. Especially me and Phil have just like, because we just mentally gone, okay, hey, right, thanks very much. He's kicked him off. There's no rock music. Jey's just won. Harrison Maynard, thank you for your question. We sort of covered it already about the little graphic. We liked it at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
All the
data.
Thanks. On there. Joshua says, happy Monday. Do you guys think Seth was added to make it a triple threat because neither Punk or Roman wanted to take the pin for the other person?
Love that. I'll take the pin, boys.
So right now, I've never considered that. But yeah, I'll be the pin eater, please. Like that. Maybe.
It's the second best thing we thought of him doing over WrestleMania.
Preserves
a Raw preview.
You should listen to the Raw preview, wherever you get your podcasts from.
Preserves a singles match as well, doesn't it? It does actually.
You don't want to preserve nothing.
I don't want to. I'm just saying.
It's WrestleMania season, baby.
But with a pin eater in there. With
Seth
freaking loser out there to get beat.
Aye.
Nah, I'm still not into it.
Vengeance. It's WrestleMania. They're in danger, I think, maybe. Diluting the old WrestleMania ski. Cody Cena is big, only if Cena holds up his end, which I don't think he's capable of doing. Then Jey Uso Gunther is very much night 2 opener. Roman Punk Seth Feels like a lot of political.
There's a template for
A lot of people getting placated.
There's a template for Cody and Cena, and we should maybe talk about that template sometime soon.
Indeed.
Joshua also asks if Roman is in the Elimination Chamber.
Roma.
If Roman is in
Paul
the
Roma?
Elimination Chamber,
What's he doing there? Who's he going to win? What's Roman doing at WrestleMania? Was nobody asking? Putting Herc and Jerk in the Hall of Fame or what?
Who eliminates Roman Reigns?
From the
Another
Elimination
wrestler
Chamber.
better than Dax Howard. The finish is any indication.
The Powerplex is far better, isn't
That's so much better.
it?
Maybe bet on Dax Cash. Bet on him to land that suplex, mate.
Roman in the chamber, and then not him and Punk again. Like at this point, it's got too
I
violent
think
between
I'd
them.
have Punk eliminated.
They've cost each other somehow.
Yeah, all the way around, yeah, I suppose.
Sorry, my the bit ran away and I forgot the question.
Who eliminates Roman from the chamber if he's in it?
The winner, John Cena. Like if John Cena's winning the chamber against
Cena Cody.
If that's what we're doing, you can have John Cena beating Roman Reigns.
But like that suck-ass, I fell on top of you to win finish. Maybe they could just do that. There's corny little ways.
Matt Reigns also said the only shoot was Sidge's dad's feelings for Jacqueline.
Jacqueline made my dad feel a certain kind of way.
Tell you something that's fake, son.
Business Company
Seen
Network.
Holy shit, look at that.
When's the next one of these, Lisa?
Rock bottom after a couple of corners. Rock hard, more league.
Business Company Network in the chat says, what a weekend. Luka Doncic traded from Dallas to LA, and then Jay gets the triple R, the Royal Rumble rub. Sorry, Sitch. I'm just reading what they're writing. We also have a chat from Mark Lee Willis. Thank you, Mark, as always.
Oh.
He says, I thought the camera work, apart from for the influencer, was very poor on entrances. Missed moments, too. That was annoying a little bit.
It's just awkward. That aisle is so long, and the corner thing, they have to do their bit, if there even is a bit, and then get to a second point, and then sprint off of it to even get to the ring before the next person comes out. It's too long.
Yeah.
Jeff Rainmaker says, good morning, legends. Of all things from the show this weekend, the best thing was Bron Breaker's Steiner Math singlet. That was nice.
Yeah.
You see that 69 written on it?
Nice. I didn't see that. Get in.
Loser.
Bala Sub says, Cody's win leading to a reign of tragedy and moral compromises is brilliant storytelling, great character development in the match. Cena was a robot, showed it in his presser, great contrast. So yeah, that would...
Yeah, Cody wanted so much of this in AEW before it all got a bit lost and warped, didn't he? Like, or at points wanted none of it, and then fans wanted it, and it was never quite right. But all of this stuff was there for the taking. And if he gets it this time, we've talked at length about how much we love heel Cody and the version of himself he's able to play. As like, even as a babyface, every now and then you'll see him doing a bit of TikTok content. You're like, there's a little glint in his eye. Not quite in the ring.
People know him to be a dick.
Yeah.
Like a funny dick, but a dick nonetheless.
It was like a bit of a tragedy that it was neither here nor there when it was like the 2021 Codyverse run. They could get it right this time.
Yeah.
He could get it right this time. I don't know if WWE will do it. It's just not very WWE. They never turn Cena, ever. They never felt the need to. And they might just not feel a need to turn Cody, and he might think...
And you got Punk there.
Yeah, who's
heel.
better as the heel. But who knows? Maybe not. Maybe Cody wants it.
I don't know if he wants it. He didn't want it in AEW.
No,
really
the
didn't
fans
want
were
it.
trying to put it onto him, and then...
He's a weird, love Cody. Weird guy sometimes. He's always had that, like, when he first left WWE, he had this thing of there's no such thing as baby faces and heels, and, there's an element of truth to that. He's so good when he picks a side at both sides.
Yes.
So when he blurs it, I don't know if it ever works out.
Thank you to Business Company Network, who've done in another super chat just to apologise to you, Sitch. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And yes, Mr. Phoenix, I have seen the kid around Mania with the shirt. I was bad at school, and my punishment was meeting Xavier Woods.
I saw that, the photo opportunity thing. It's nice, that.
That's not bad.
Final couple of questions here. Thank you to everyone who's joined us and donated, by the way. John Carter says, was there really no better option than Charlotte? Not trying to be a dick, but is that where the women's division is? It's almost as bad as AEW's.
There's a few bits there, isn't there? I think...
We don't do bits.
Sorry, we don't do bits. The context, as we've talked about, the context of Charlotte Flair win is different than if it had been when she won it in 2020, for example, or when she could have won it, or similar things like
Yes.
it, all of those years. The context is different here. Like, has the legend of this division at this point still got it? She's showing the wear and tear. Tiffany Stratton could position herself as a like-for-like replacement. Don't need you. Out of the way, you don't need you anymore. It's a different story. There might...
Oh, there you.
Just like that, yeah. There might be a bit... before that, there might be a bit of heft to this.
So I'm coming for that spot you don't even want.
Come that spot you don't want.
Thanks.
I hope that answers your question. No, I think this was the year. I think there would have been different times where I would have felt that way about Charlotte Flair, but not this year.
Stars are stars for a reason. Yep. Stars have to win more often than not. Charlotte Flair hasn't done an awful lot of important winning in this so-called Renaissance era. I want to see how big it goes, because if you build her, especially under like this competent regime, I don't know how likely it is, but a proper, Charlotte Flair, but like in a competently booked red hot, white hot promotion, I think whoever eventually goes over her, that could be big business.
Just like the timeline's small enough to recap now. She beats Ronda Rousey because Ronda Rousey insisted that she leaves that night, and Charlotte was the obvious choice to put the belt on. Does the square root and knout, and then gets one platform to be big in this era, and it's the Rhea Ripley match. So far, so good.
Yes.
I do think it's... You've got the evidence to support doing this at least once.
I know people get bored, but just remember how awesome a pay-per-view matches mostly are and have been, and someone could really get a rub if this version of the Fed can get Charlotte Flair right consistently.
There was something in the Women's Rumble that would have been more effective, I think, with a few more people to illustrate the divide.
Just funny. Get on board with Charlotte Flair, man.
Yeah, she's funny. If there was a few more, rather than just being 3-on-3 to illustrate the divide, there were certainly enough people in there you could have done it probably. You know, where they lined up the new blood and there was a couple of the horsewomen and Bianca Belair was there, Naomi, I think, as well. And it was just, there was something to that because there's probably a War Games in that, or there's probably like all the horsewomen graduate. You know, there's that fantasy booking about like, right, Lyra faces Becky and just all of them could be theoretically replaced at this point. They've never really...
Fully loaded 2000.
Yeah, they've never really explored that in the women's division because there's never been enough women to do it.
Yeah.
There's people now with like legacy runs and it's been 10 years pretty much since Stephanie McMahon invented it. So now like there's these women that came up in that time that are starting to think about retirement or moving down the card or whatever. That's a totally new story to tell with a Charlotte Flair or a Becky Lynch or things like that. So there's stuff to do.
You have to build her to topple her.
I'll leave the final question
I know she's been built, but...
Yeah. I'll leave the final question to Jeff Oliver, who says, a change in Triple H's booking I've noticed. He used to have a couple of standby feuds that could potentially replace a match for each PLE in case of injury. That seems to have gone recently. Do you think that's due to Mania chaos?
I think it's more than anything, and I think this has been a problem for WWE this year, and we'll see a bit more of it. The content overload is catching up with them again. It hasn't done for a while.
Catches up to everyone.
Extra hour of SmackDown, Saturday night's main events, it all counts, and they've just, Triple H was like building whoever he was building at the time, and then you've just, especially on SmackDown, like there are some weeks where it is a dire state of affairs on SmackDown for the 3 hours, and then you get the Saturday night's main event, so you got to give some big matches away, so you got to beat some of those stars, and they do. The finishes are pretty, like for the most part, there's not many throwaway finishes now. That has caught up with him a little bit, and the race is on after WrestleMania to get as many sort of new people over as possible. Jacob and Braun. Or anybody else at the moment that you could feel like needs more than just that.
Well,
the content overload, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a good little trick as well. Like I know a lot of people hated the 5-match PLEs. Not for me. I like them. A good little thing of like you cannot. There's too much of a good thing. Is the most like core truth about most things in entertainment and art. And without an off season, it was always astute of Levesque and Nick Carter go, right, we don't need everything for every single show. They worked around the off season very, very well. It resulted in some tedious, dry weekly TV, yes. Some dreadfully short pay-per-views, even though they're all too long. Maybe it's not happening anymore. Like Saturday night's main event really sort of brought that home for me. I'll
leave you.
I
with
enjoyed
this.
not watching enough WWE. That was good for a while, but now it's all over.
I'll leave you with this from Mark Lee Willis. If we accept the silent H in Thierry, because that's how it's pronounced, why do you use the H in Gunther? Is that silent too? Something to ponder, maybe.
Sounds like a question for Andy Murray, that.
That's a good point. But let us know your thoughts on the Royal Rumble in the comments section below or on X at WhatCulture WWE.
Is there a little fat kid in The Simpsons called Gunter? Yes.
Oh, yes. Stop chasing
Or
me with your...
Uta.
Yeah.
Or Uta.
You'll never get to my chocolate or whatever it is. Is that the right one?
It is. I just like that
Maybe
voice.
it's Uta. I don't know. Either way, that's habits now. I call them.
If you like characters, you'll love the new character that was debuted on the Collision review.
Sure will.
Just earlier on today. But as I said, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Follow us all
Might leave you confused.
at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow all four of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
follow Michael Sidgwick at
M. Sidgwick.
follow our brilliant producer Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas.
and you can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said, and make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. The
sled.
Raw preview is available right now if you want to get excited ahead of Raw tonight. The Collision review is available, and we'll be reviewing Raw, of course, tomorrow as well. But for now, this has been
Whoa, where do you think you're going? Huh? We've got a live tour to promote here, actually.
Oh, yes.
I think you're fine.
Where do you
Where
think
do you think
going?
you're going?
Before we leave, yes, we are going to be going on tour
All was good.
all over the world.
The business was better.
all over the world, across the UK, and then over to Las Vegas as well. If you want to get your tickets for that, or you want to pre-register your interest for that, at whatculture.com/tickets is where you need to head. Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting.
Can't wait, man.
I'm not in Vegas, sadly, but I am in the United Kingdom.
Yes, but if you want to,
And where else are we going? Just the United Kingdom.
just the United Kingdom. Yes, join us for that.
This time around, God knows what dates we had on the next tours when this is a smashing success.
whatculture.com/tickets if you want to find out any more details about that. But for now, it's been the Royal Rumble review. My thanks to Hamflett, Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.